Good evening. You're watching the Cheese Room podcast. I'm the caller, very disappointed after what I've just seen. And I'm joined by three other Spurs hardcore fans. HG, thanks for joining again.
No worries. It's only been 24 hours, but we were a bit more positive last night than we might be now. But it's good to see your lovely cherubic face.
I've never been described like that before. JP, how are you?
Meh. I think a bit meh. Like, probably all of us. It's probably the best way to describe it. What's your reaction? Meh. We can probably call the show there, right? Move on.
Yeah, So that was the Cheese Room podcast. Thanks for joining. Davo, you all right?
I've apologised to my oldest son 5 times for condemning him to a life of this, and he said, "That's all right, Dad." So we have to move on slowly today.
I mean, the way I feel like there's an asterisk by any game that you play against Man City, the sports washing 115 charges outstanding bastards. Because they're cheats, aren't they? I mean, let's be honest, they're just cheats. And the goal was a bit suspect, but we'll get on that. I'll get onto that in a minute. Davo, the way we started, were you a bit perplexed by the lack of being able to break out?
Very much so. I thought, look, as the first half went on, we started to get more into the game, but they really were pressing us high up the pitch. I mean, they played a pretty strong team, right? And
Right.
and really, we were suffering in midfield. Werner couldn't get on the ball, and it just wasn't a great start. Now, normally, what we do is have a great start, miss a load of chances, or score and take it from there. But it didn't bode well. We got better as the first half went on.
Yeah. JP, City out the traps like a sports washing greyhound on steroids. No? Can't hear you, JP.
It's because I pushed the mute button. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I started watching about 5 minutes into the game, and the way City were all over us, I expected us to be 1-0 up because that's the way it goes, right? We start first. We start hardest first. But no, they were all over us for about 35 minutes. Really, I don't think we had more than 2 passes in their half in the first 35. It was pretty grim watching. But I mean, credit to them. It was grim watching because they were playing around us really well.
HG, your summary of that first 45.
No, the summary is that Manchester City actually came to play, and we haven't seen that too much in our stadium over the last few years. They came to play. They had the ball pretty much from the first second, and we couldn't get it off them. They were obviously just on it, and they always had a spare ball. And I mean, there were times when they would play through us, and we would get back, and they had that obviously the early chance and the disallowed goal, which was 3-4 minutes in. But even by that point, you knew that they were already on it. So it's just one of those things that, like, City were very, very good. And, going in at halftime, we were probably fortunate to be level, considering we hadn't even had a shot at that point. But that's not to say we played terribly. It's just that City were very good, and we were fighting fires most of the time. Like, we had a couple of late blocks, I think, from Van der Ven and one from Porro in the first half. And, yeah, it felt like the goal was coming, but it never actually got close to arriving. It was like a constant state of, here we go again, but it was never really more than that after that initial chance.
So if you're watching, please do a couple of things. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and let us have your comments. We're going to try and get through as many as possible because we're probably not going to stay talking about that 90 minutes very, very long. But I want to go to this one first from Mark. Højbjerg is horrible in this system. Doesn't receive the ball like Biss does. He doesn't even want it. He passes to the opposition. He rarely passes forward. He's like a wet towel over the midfield. This is not my alter ego, just to make that really clear. But you'll know my views on Højbjerg. I think he was absolutely dreadful tonight, and I just wouldn't have picked him as the 6. I think Bentancur should have been in there. He's press resistant. He can break out, and I think we were pinned back that first half hour at least. But part of that was the fact that there was no one who could take on a man and beat one or two people and press through and then create a counter. And I think that's the six's job in Ange's system. And Højbjerg just isn't competent at all at that task, JP. And I'm not saying that's Højbjerg's fault, by the way. He's just not that player.
The 10 minutes at the end of the first half where we started doing a little bit more were Højbjerg's best 10 minutes of the game. And I think that tells a lot. Like he was pretty poor today, particularly towards the end of the
second half. Oh my God.
Yeah. He had about a minute and a half there where he should have given away 2 goals. Like if City weren't completely wasteful, we should have been 2 down because of him. But yeah, when he got on the ball and he started doing the things we needed him to do, all of a sudden we're back in this game. You know, we're able to play the way we want to play, but he's not capable of doing it. It was more luck than anything he was really trying to do. I understand why Ange put Bentancur at the 8 rather than the 6. I think he's just trying to kind of replicate some of what we get out of Sarr. But I still think you're better off having Skip do that, as limited as Skip kind of is in that role, because we need the 6 to be dominant, and he just wasn't.
I'm going to defend Højbjerg a little bit. Look, in the 70 minutes that he played with Bentancur, I don't think Højbjerg was our worst player. As soon as Bentancur went off, you saw those mistakes. We all know the mistakes we're talking about. The one where De Bruyne should have scored.
Yeah.
But before that, I mean, if you think about the one shot that Spurs had, which was barely a shot, it came from Højbjerg. Like, he was the one who played the 1-2 with Bentancur. He was the one who played the pass through to Johnson. Mm-hmm. So, weirdly enough, like, I don't think Højbjerg is a 6 either. I think he's better as an 8. I think he plays as an 8 for Denmark. So I don't really understand why Ange has been like this from day one, to be fair. He has always kind of played Højbjerg as a 6. I think Bentancur would have been a better choice, but I don't think Højbjerg played that badly. I really don't. I think there were players who played 90 minutes who were worse than Højbjerg.
And that's like, within Højbjerg's skill set, I don't think he played badly. But it's just obvious that his skill set in that role was the reason that we weren't able to get a foothold on the game. And that's just is what it is.
I think with Højbjerg, his most recent best spell with us was before the World Cup, where he got a few goals, he got a few assists, he was getting a bit more forward. Now, more often than not, he did play in that midfield too, which we all hated. But on the various odd occasions Basuma came on, he stuck 3 in the midfield, and Bentancur and Højbjerg got more forward. It worked better. But the fact of the matter is, I mean, I'm going to have to send an email to all my neighbours, because that 10 minutes, that 5-minute spell when he lost the ball twice, I think I was swear the whole suburb down. Sorry, everyone. And not good fathering either. But at the end of the day, right, he doesn't fit the system, nor does Skip. But the fact of the matter is, we've missed Basuma and we've missed Sarr, and it shows. Bentancur, who I love, he's not fit. I mean, God bless him. He rushed back early to play, noting the team's needs. Lo Celso and Sessegnon take note. But he's not fit. And that's really the nub of it. And I think up top going forward, I think Kulu was poor tonight, which was disappointing, because he's better he plays better, more deeper. And obviously we have the usual Brennan debate as well. So, I mean, but that's where we are. I mean, I just think that if we have a decent striker who can convert chances when created,
you need some chances in the first place. I mean, I felt
I get that.
Today. I think Richie was good today. Actually, I don't think he was bad at all. I just think he had literally nothing to work with the whole game. And look, part of this for me is just that how good City are when they turn up. And they turned. I think HG hit the nail on the head. They absolutely were on it from minute 1, weren't they? They were fantastic. And you got to say the better team won. But yeah, HG.
That is true. Definitely the better team won. I'm disappointed that it got to 87 minutes before they got the goal. Like, I was hoping if they are ever going to score, please let it be a 35-yard rocket from De Bruyne and not some deflected nonsense or what we saw in the end. But like, if we take that front 6 that started the game, right? I don't think Højbjerg was the worst of that 6. In fact, he may well have been the best outside of Richarlison, because Kulusevski as a 10 didn't do much. He got into decent positions but didn't release the ball. And Our wingers need the ball released to them early because then they can get one-on-one chances. If you don't release it early, then you're just going to take up their space. You're going to run towards them, and then what?
Yeah.
You give Werner a ball, you give Johnson the ball, and all they can really do is go backwards with it. They don't have they need some time and space to run with it. And I mean, I've said before on other shows that, like, because of the midfield issues that we have, right? We can't really bring the ball through midfield. So it has to be played early. Like the chance that Werner had at Man United when Skip blasted it perfectly 40, 50 yards into his path. That's when you saw the best of Timo Werner. And obviously it wasn't great, but that's when you're going to see something from him. I got annoyed in the first half at Johnson, if only because I didn't think he was playing badly, but when he got that opportunity to run at the fullback, he didn't. He would play it back every single time. And I'm thinking, look, that's frustrating to me. Like, we all know that City are playing well. We all know that we're not going to have many chances to move forward. And yet when you get a one-on-one against Guardiola, run at him. You are faster than him. Like, unless you're carrying some serious injury, which means you can only go 70, 80% at best. I don't understand that. We didn't have the ability to put balls in around the back very often. And when we did get the chance to do it, we were waiting for the perfect opportunity, and that just didn't come very often. I think that's the issue. Like, I don't blame the front three. None of them played very well. Brennan Johnson was much better in the second half, I will say that. But none of them played well because we couldn't get the ball to them, or we didn't really try to get the ball to them very early.
Yeah, all the issues for me were in midfield, and you saw the number of times Werner got into brilliant positions, or was running past the defenders, but just wasn't picked out. And I think you nail on the head with Kulusevski. I thought he was poor tonight. He didn't release when he should have released. There was no snap to his game. He was very slow in the release. Sorry, JP, what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say I agree with everything you said there. I think a big part of why we were poor in midfield, though, was because our fullbacks were really poor. Porro had a really off game in terms of his delivery. And Destiny, I mean, he's been kind of getting away with it for a little while, Destiny. I think he releases the ball really slowly. He kind of takes a touch, and then it should be away into Timo on that, on his second touch. Then he takes 3-4 runs into a player. And that just happened over and over again. I think in the second half, I counted 2 or 3 times where Timo was in. And he didn't have to, it wasn't even a first-time ball. It was like one touch, play him in. And with space, there's no reason why he couldn't. And he'd either stop and turn around and play it inside, or he'd keep running and running and running and then run into a player and couldn't get rid of the ball. And so I just thought that the fullbacks were they've been a big part of what we do well this year and a big part of why we've been able to dominate midfield. But they were poor today, and I think that was part of why our midfield didn't work as well.
I thought Destiny was really poor first half. And I don't know, it felt a little bit like he was being rattled by Walker. I mean, how old is he now? How he keeps, he's 33, a lot of baby mamas, a lot of pace. He's still going at 33. I don't know how he does it anyway, but he's still a great player in that system. And I think he got rattled by it in the same way I think Destiny got a little bit rattled in the Chelsea game as well after Romero went. And people have to remember, I really like him. He's a good player. He's made a great start. He's still young. It's still his first season. There's a long way to go for him. He's not the finished article.
That said, I thought he was really good defensively today. I thought it was one of his kind of better defensive displays. He just, going forward, he was a big part of what we did wrong as well.
I mean, the thing is, there were a number of occasions when City got the ball and you suddenly saw a 3-on-2 break or a 3-on-3 break where you thought, if they get the pass right, we're going to be in trouble. And it was always someone tracking back that would get the challenge in. It wasn't the centre back moving forward to intercept the ball. It was someone like Udogie actually getting back and winning it. I think I even saw Bentancur do it a couple of times. So they want to play forward. They want to be, and they have to be forward in the system, right? They have to make those forward passes available for Van der Ven and Romero. But I think City, clearly, what Spurs are going to do. Right, so City understood. Okay, well, this is how we're going to play. Their wide players played very narrow. They followed the fullbacks in. So of course there wasn't a great deal of space. I feel like when City got the ball in wide areas, they had acres of space, because Guardiola was allowed to move forward, Walker was allowed to move forward, and Spurs never tried to do the same to Man City. We never got the ball wide enough and early enough to really hurt City. Whereas it felt like City were able to just kind of do what they wanted to do. We weren't getting challenges in. We weren't fouling. We weren't trying to rile them up. It was almost like, okay, we know that they're good, and they're playing really well, so we can't do that. But if you can't do it, then they'll just play around you. And obviously, we got tired just running around chasing shadows.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of an intimidation factor there, Davo. Do you think the players were in awe of City a little bit?
Yeah, I think so a little bit, actually. I mean, look, Sonny's got a fantastic record against City, and he wasn't there. Maddison, I don't know why people on Twitter this week was expecting him to start brand new match fit. I mean, 1 week back in training, and he spent a part of his time at the darts. Does anyone really think he's going to start at 90 minutes? I mean, it's just ridiculous to actually think that. I mean, it's funny, right? Because I called out Romero, where I think he's a good player, but sometimes he lets himself down with his temperament and things like that. It's almost a little bit like tonight. You could have a little bit more of his shithousery than what he did. And I think that they were just very professional. They knew what they were doing. Old Pep gets his yellow card, and he was playing. It was a very consummate professional job. And at times we looked a little bit like rabbit in the headlights of what we meant to do now, right?
Yeah. I mean, it felt as if, it was a clear indication of how far we have to go, right? Because even though, to me, that was City's best performance of the season. And I don't watch them every week, but it feels as if, they get results, but they haven't really blasted anyone away. They went to Arsenal and lost. Do you know what I mean? They couldn't beat Spurs when we had 4 fullbacks. They've not done that well this season. Haaland's not scoring at the same rate as he was last year. And maybe that's because De Bruyne has been out. But obviously De Bruyne didn't play the first hour of this game. So it feels as if we caught them at a bad time, because they've had, as one of the comments said, they've had 2 weeks to prepare for it, which, we're probably the only team that's going to face them this year, having to deal with the fact that City had 2 weeks to prepare for one game.
True.
But we also had 2 weeks to prepare for them. I can't get angry because I know City played well, and of course I'm disappointed because we were out of a competition. However, on the balance of it, they were the better team. They're the more experienced side, and it was always going to happen. At some point, City were going to come to our stadium and win the game. And we weren't a great deal worse than them. And had we snuck away with a 0-0, in 10 days' time, it's a different game, because maybe Son's back, maybe Sarr's back, and we've got, and Madison's got 10 more days of training in him. It would have been a different game. That's the frustrating thing. City had played well. We got until 86 minutes before they scored, and it was such a boring goal to give away. It would have been almost easier to deal with. Yeah, it would have been easier to deal with if Højbjerg had, made the mistake and De Bruyne had scored, and be like, okay, well, that was on us. But that one wasn't really on us. It was just an awkward feeling with Ruben Dias doing what he'd done all game.
Yeah, Davo, do you think that was a valid goal, or was there a bit of shithousery, a foul, etc.? There was a long VAR check on it, so I think they were looking for rules to disallow it. My personal take was that it was a goal, and unfortunately, it's it is what it is. But the defenders should be quicker to react there.
It was a goal, and unfortunately, Vicario has been amazing this season by punching downwards. Made a mistake there. And it was clearly a tactic by City all game. They've been doing it all game, and it was a goal. I don't see how anyone can argue that it wasn't. There wasn't.
It's just sorry, go on, David.
Let us know in the chat if you think it wasn't. I'll throw it up, and Dave can shoot you down.
I agree with you, HG.
No, sorry. Just the comment by King Huddle here, right? He was impeded, yes, but he wasn't fouled. Diaz maybe jumped into him a little bit. But you have to be stronger as a keeper. And plus, he should have been expecting it. It'd been happening all game at corners. Mm-hmm. But weirdly enough, it only was a goal because when it came off him, it hit Van der Ven. It's weirdly enough. Had Van der Ven not been there, it would have bounced away, and we probably would have got away with it again. That's not to blame Van der Ven. It was just one of those things. Vicario is not the. It's probably my size, but Like Diaz is also my size, right? So he's got to jump up over a guy that's very good in the air, and to get your kind of hands over the man who's standing in front of you and then punch it up. I personally think that's probably quite difficult. What I don't understand is why we allowed Diaz to do that the whole game. Why wasn't someone trying to stop that earlier on? Because I mean, I don't know what the English commentator said, but when I watched it on German Sky, they all talked about it. We all saw it happening.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of in our chat, particularly, Vicario has to be better there. Vicario has to be. I think if you watch it back, as you've said, HG, like it's just in that spot that's really awkward where he has to go over the top, and if he's going to get it under, he has to go like over and under. And I just don't think there was much he could have done about it. I think he had to get a hand on it. He did get a hand on it. It was hard to get much on it. And it's taken a deflection and gone in, unfortunately. But I don't blame Vicario. It wasn't a foul. It's just one of those, they scored a goal. It was real scrappy and they scored it.
We got to give Vicario credit because they disallowed goal after 2.5 minutes.
Kept us in the game.
If he exactly, that goes in, it's a completely different game, and maybe Spurs play better, and maybe City relax. It's one of those weird things. Now we can sit here and say like it might have been good to go behind earlier, but the only reason that goal didn't count was because Vicario made the save. So none of us are going to blame him for what happened. I would hope, but it was an awful way to lose it. Like we hadn't played well, but for that to be how it ended, it's just frustration.
Completely get it. And we didn't show anything really after that. We fairly dominated still after the goal went in. JP, it was predictable. Madison coming back, clearly not anywhere near the pace of the game.
No.
I think because the goal happened so late as well, like City were really good after that of just shutting it down. I think they had the ball in the corner flag for about 5 minutes. They just shut the game down. They did well, and credit to them. I thought just before the goal, what was disappointing was that I thought we were starting to really get into it. We'd had some good momentum for about another 10, 15 minute stretch where we were almost creating. We had released Timo a few times. That was where I was getting really frustrated. We just didn't get the players in behind. But yeah, look, it is what it is. City managed the game really well, and I think that's kind of what it comes down to. They were better.
I'm sitting here trying to remember, like when City brought on De Bruyne and Doku, which obviously changed the game. They took off. Who did they take off? Like the young kid Bob and
Alvarez.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the midfield dominance they already had. Suddenly they had even more. Doku's better than Bob, clearly. But De Bruyne as a false nine, I guess that's what he was doing. Like we couldn't deal with it. And then taking off our fit midfielders, it meant it was probably always more likely that it was going to end up the way it did. It would be lovely to play them when we've got all our team, right?
HG, have you got a message for Goodwin Harris?
Not really. I hope he's having a good night. His own team will probably lose.
No relation, to be clear.
That's true, yeah. Bad Lose Harris. I bet. His friends must call him Bad Lose, surely. Like what other nickname would you give a guy whose name was Goodwin? You'd have to call him Bad Lose just to piss him off.
Brilliant.
And a shout out to my mate Cam, who's a Man City fan, watching this because he's moaning about something. Cam's been a City fan since he had Joey Barton on his back shirts. He's a proper City fan. He's not an oil City
proper
fan.
One, yeah. A very recent.
Joey had Joey Barton on his bloody back shirt.
Well, that's not that old. They had a rich owner before the oil lot, didn't they?
No.
Previously, they did.
He had Franny Lee as an owner. You got to give him credit. Move on anyway.
There's a lot of talk in the chat as well about. Here we go. We needed a striker with the Harry money. A striker wouldn't have helped us today. Harry Kane wouldn't have really helped. Like there was no delivery. No. Although Harry was good at kind of dropping deep and getting those quick balls in, so he might have been able to get Timo in behind. But striker wasn't our problem. I thought Richie was probably our best player.
It's a different game if Solomon is fit. It's a different game if Son is here. It's a different game if Perisic is still around and fit, which he would have been. He would have still been around had he been fit. So, it's tough that we've got a guy on loan. I don't think Werner's a bad player, but we are close to the barest of bones. Now, we can sit here and talk about the money that we spent on Johnson, and maybe it's not been the best way to spend that money.
Well, there's half your Harry Kane money.
Well, pretty much, yeah. I mean, certainly. I mean, Harry Kane was what, £85 million, and Brennan Johnson was almost 50. It's a lot of money, and he hasn't hit the ground running. I think it's fair to say.
No,
but again, I can't blame Brennan. It feels like Werner and Johnson. To be fair to them, they are both wingers that will be on the end of moves, but they will not be the provider of. They need someone to do the work for them, whether it's the ball around the back that they can run onto, or whether it's across from the other side that they can finish. But then creative wingers that maybe we thought we would, right? I think we all thought we'd get wingers who can beat a man both ways. Someone like Doku, if we get that kind of winger, and both Johnson and Werner are pace, but not much else. And so it's tough. If you can't get the ball to them, they can't. We can sit here and say that Højbjerg doesn't suit the system. Well, playing Werner and Johnson together probably doesn't suit Spurs either, because one of them who can only do that is probably okay, but to have you're going to struggle.
I think I've seen enough from Werner in the last 2 games to say that, like, when our first team is back, if you're playing Sonny through the middle, he probably starts.
Really?
Yeah, Werner, Sonny, and Decky. I think the positions.
What have you seen from Werner to say?
I think the positions that he takes up and the areas he gets into are really good. Like, they're the areas we want him in, and they're the areas Brennan Johnson isn't getting in, but he's not getting the ball. I think he probably made 6 or 7 runs today that if Maddison was fit and firing, he would have been found and through.
100%. You're preaching to the converted, JP. Anyone who knows football can see Werner is operating.
Anyone who knows football doesn't start a sentence with anyone who knows football.
Here we go. Come on.
He's operating on a different level, Werner. You look at to Johnson. You look at his runs. They're intelligent. They're well timed. They're thoughtful. It just takes someone to feed him the ball. And unfortunately tonight, the midfield was completely and utterly dead. Like, there was nothing going on in the midfield. It came to something when Ollie Skip was there to provide a creative spark in the second half.
Steady there. Woof.
And we do miss Bissouma. I know there's issues with his disciplinary record. I know he's let the team down. We'll talk about it pre-show, Dave. But Højbjerg in the 6 is just a terrible fit, and I think that's where a lot of our problems came from tonight. I think I would rather have seen Kulu being a CM and having Bentancur as a deep, because Bentancur is press resistant, he can pass out and he can break up play. I would much rather have seen him there. I really would. So you're
saying Ange got it wrong then? You're saying Ange got it wrong?
I don't know the fitness level of the players, so yeah, I'm sure he's doing his best. But I suppose my original point was to back up what JP's saying. I think Werner has looked good in the couple of games he's played for us, and I think there's a lot more to come. And I think the future's bright. I think we just need to not worry too much. Yes, we've been knocked out by City. Let's not have an overreaction about it. They are the best team in the country for the last 5 years on the bounce, and they turned up big time tonight. And we're still not quite there with the injuries coming back, and I think we'll be absolutely fine when they do. Really
I think HC's point is about this is the worst time to have played City was now, because if we'd have got them in the quarters or the semi, and then they got a load of Champions League football going for the title, then the squad would have been stretched. But you could tell from Pep getting his yellow card tonight, he really wanted that goal. He really wanted the win. And they put out a strong team. And as I said, it was the worst. As I said, sometimes when you go on and win the trophy, you get some very favourable draws. And this was not a favourable draw. So I think we can all agree it was Gary Mabbott's fault. 1987 own goal against Coventry, and now this.
Can I say on Pep as well? That guy was on the field most of the game, absolutely screaming at them. And it just took me back to when Ange got yellow carded once for being outside his technical area. Him and Klopp just do it game after game after game, and it's like, oh yeah, but that's just them. Like, it's doing my head in.
It's they're the big personalities. They're keeping the Premier League going.
Yeah.
And now Klopp's leaving. I'm crying my little eyes out.
Well, I mean, hopefully Pep won't be far behind him, but then we'll have a chance. But
I mean, but the thing is, if that happens, that would be pretty cool because it would mean that it would be a much closer thing. Like to me, Pep and Klopp are the two best managers in world football. I personally think Klopp is better than Pep. However, Pep might get bored at some point. Like, how much does he need to win now? Is it just the money? Like, the thing is that there's always going to be question marks about what his team have achieved and how they've got there, and so it doesn't matter anymore. People are always going to think that he's only won at Barcelona because of Messi, and he only won at Bayern because it was Bayern, and he only won at City because they're a bunch of cheats. However, yeah, they did, regardless of how they got the players that played tonight, they played well and they deserve to beat us. And I think we all hold our hands up and say that.
Mm-hmm.
I think you know as well that it's only going to take one of those 115 or however many charges they've got to stick for Pep to go, I've been lied to, and walk away. So the time's coming. It's not going to be far off.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree. Well, look, I don't want to talk about it anymore. How about you lot? I want to go to bed. I want to wake up in the morning, forget all about this. FA Cup's for losers. Who wants to win a trophy that looks like that?
Yeah, but the thing is, for the two of you in the Northern Hemisphere, you can go to bed now, have a nice night's sleep, and off you go. But for us in the Southern Hemisphere, it's like we're at the game and we've got a lot of daytime hours to get through in a really pissed off mood.
Yeah, but you also live in Australia, so there's no sympathy. Oh no, the sun is out again.
Yeah. Woe
is me.
Woe is me. Better pop another shrimp on the barbecue, Dave.
We had a lovely barbie last night, and I think it'll be 35 degrees today. What was it with you, JP?
It's going to be good. I'm going to be out by the pool and have people who don't know anything about football, but because Ange is our manager, will know this result. Be going like, so out of the cup. Oh, is that a bad thing? Is it? Oh, so is Ange not doing well? Oh, so I've got that to look forward to all day.
Yeah, but it's better than someone. Go on.
You might get all the football people saying, "Is Ange? Is he a busted flush now?" The Aussies will be talking about Ange in that way, won't they?
Yeah, I reckon he's got another couple of months before they start tall poppying him.
Yeah, and then he'll be on 60 Minutes, and then the next thing is Ange is going to Liverpool. That's the next thing.
Yeah, they will be pushing that. They will be pushing that hard.
Of course they will.
Oh, this King Hoddle. Why would you have to put it so bluntly? 17. I know that's true, but that's does feel. No, it's not a lot. 17, that's 34 hours of peace, right? Outside of those games, I'm going to have to go shopping. I'm going to have to run errands. I'm going to have to play Barbie. I don't mind doing that. That's kind of fun. But it's just, I'm going to miss my football. I'm not going to care
put
anymore.
Put it a different way, right? Put it a different way. We don't. It's like May, isn't it? By the time the season finishes,
yeah,
it'll be our summer. We'll be getting the barbecue out. We'll be having the steaks. Be fine. Don't worry about it.
I'd rather watch Spurs.
Then there's the Euros. Get excited about that.
I read a story the other day that if Madrid get Mbappe, that they're likely to try and sell. Oh my god, I'm going to forget his name. Who's their right winger? Vinicius. And I was like, that's going to be my summer of there's 1% chance that maybe we might have a conversation, and I'm just going to be worked up over that from now until the end of the window.
Special relationship with Madrid. You
well,
never
we are the eighth richest. We're the eighth richest club in the world. So that graphic that's been going around this week, I'm going to get it blown up, framed, and stick it on the wall there because that's what we've achieved.
There you go. And on that bombshell,
Daniel Levy to sign it.
No.
I'll be over in April to get him to sign it.
Yeah, perfect.
And on that bombshell, we leave you tonight. We'll be in a better mood on Monday night. I'm quite sure when we'll be back. Catch up with the pod. It'll be available at some point over the next 24 hours. And if you feel like reliving it, catch up with mine and HG's pod from last night. We did a preview on the show as well, preview on the game as well. HG, thanks for joining me from Austria, Vienna.
Not a problem. I mean, it is fun, even if we've lost. I'm able to just, the stink has gone. I'm going to enjoy myself tonight before bed. I'm going to enjoy myself tomorrow doing whatever. I've got a flipping kids' party to go to. No, I'm not going to enjoy myself. I'm going to cry myself to sleep. Good night, everyone.
I've got my daughter's birthday, and I never expected us to win anyway, truly. So I'm at peace with it. JP, thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me. I'm going to go and block my ears out to the rest of the world on this beautiful blue sky day that I've got ahead of me. Be out on a lake later. It'd be lovely.
Enjoy it. Davo, again, thanks for joining.
That's all right. I'm going to get one teenage son out of bed, and the other one I'm going to apologise to for a sixth time for condemning him to this.
All right. Until next time, we will be back Monday. Tune in, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, and come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.